back with Perkins Roofing, and you are now watching Roofing 201. If you have not watched it yet, go back and watch Roofing 101 and familiarize yourself with the basics of roofing in Florida before you move to Roofing 201, where we're going to discuss roof maintenance, roof terminology, and how to prolong your roof life so that you get the most years for your roof, so that you get the most bang for your buck on your roof that you paid for. Because, and I say this all the time, a roof is like a car or like your teeth. You have to maintain them. You have to take care of them. If you do not brush your teeth, if you do not floss your teeth, then guess what? Your teeth are going to decay and fall out of your mouth. That's what happens to a roof. If you do not take care of it, especially if you have a flat roof, a bunch of stuff is going to fall on that roof and it's going to get worse. It's not just flat roofs, it's every roof. Maintenance is important. You have to keep it clean. You have to keep it free of vegetation. You have to keep it free of ponding water and insects that can cause damage to the roof. You basically want your roof to just be by itself. You don't want trees over it because trees are going to have stuff that falls down off of the tree into the roof and it gets stuck on the roof. Trees too close to the roof during a windstorm can blow the trees into the roof and hit the roof and cause damage via puncture or impact. And guess what? Creatures live in trees. Critters live in trees. They're going to jump off the tree onto the roof and can cause damage to your roof with their little claws, with their little birdie claws, with bobcats shredding. I have seen bobcats tear up roofs because there are house cats in the house and it's mating season and they want to mate with the house cat. I've seen possums get into roofs, raccoons get into roofs, iguanas get into roofs, bats get into roofs. All these different animals I've seen not get just into the roof, but literally get into your home from the roof. River rats, all kinds of stuff. So that's why roof maintenance is important. It's just like a car. You don't buy a car and then drive it 100,000 miles without an oil change. No. You change the tires. You do an oil change. You wash the car. You take care of your vehicle. So if you're going to take care of your car, if you're going to take care of your teeth, if you're going to take care of everything else, you should probably also take care of your roof. Do you clean your toilet? If you clean your toilet, you should clean your roof. All right, a little bit about me. If you have, like I said, watch 101. You've probably already seen this slide. If you haven't and you're just skipping it, then I'm going to make you look at this anyway. I have a master's degree, so I'm not a dummy. I have a bunch of animals. I've been doing Perkins Roofing forever. I got a bunch of kids and animals and fur babies, whatever you want to call it. Human animals and fur babies. But I've been with Perkins Roofing forever. You can see since 2014, I have been the VP of Perkins Roofing. I've been with Perkins Roofing since before that. Owner of Perkins Roofing from 2023 onwards. I started Perkins Roofing Jupiter in 2023. I started Perkins Construction in 2023. I started Perkins Franchising in 2024. I've had my license since 2018. And I'm also a real estate investor and a licensed realtor. So I actually own a bunch of properties too that I have to take care of. Maybe I've seen some of them in some YouTube videos. So if you're a landlord or a real estate investor, I understand your plight. History of Perkins Roofing. We talk about this a lot in the other video, but it used to be called Perkins and Wharton Roofing from 1980 to 1989. So if you check on the Sunbiz and search Perkins Roofing, that's why it shows 1990, even though we've been around since 1980, because Dean has been doing the same stuff. He just dropped his co-owner back in 1989. They got into a fight or whatever. And he started primarily in Miami Beach doing hot mop, doing shingle roofs, tile roofs, and metal is a new thing. Dean never really did metal because metal is something that started coming around when I got involved in the roofing. Before that, it was like island metal, but metal was not very popular until the last few years, to be quite honest. Perkins Roofing over the last 5 years, the chart on the left, each one of those little red dots is a job that we have done for a paying customer. You can see our heat map here where our most jobs are. The red is hot and green is cold. On where most of our jobs are, yellow is medium. So you can see all the areas that we have worked in Southeast Florida. We also have jobs that we've done on the west coast of Florida that you won't see here because I just didn't take the whole map of Florida. There'd only be a few dots over there. What does Perkins Roofing do? We do roofing and we do construction because, like I mentioned, we have a general contracting company. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I already talked about it in Roofing 101. But we do all sorts of roofs, every type of roof, residential, high rise, commercial storefront, anything, flats, metal, tile, shingle, we do it all. Waterproofings we do, including terrace decks, planters, fountains, etc. Sheet metal fabrication, gutters, chimney restorations, skylights, chimney demos, and restorations. Perkins Construction, we do concrete restoration, structural repairs and carpentry, siding, hardy board, stucco, structural build-outs, impact windows and doors, kitchens, bathrooms, anything, we do it. You name it, we do it for on the GC side. Roof life and maintenance. I showed this chart in Perkins Roofing 101 or in Roofing 101 for basics of Florida. These are the roof lives of different various roofs in Florida. This is from experience. I do this all day, every day. I have gone on 3 to 5 roofs every single day for the last 12 plus years or whatever it's been, 11, 12 plus years. So I've been on probably a million roofs. At Perkins Roofing, we average more than 100 projects per month. So I'm doing over 1,000 projects per year for more than 10 years. So that means I've done, over 10,000 something projects, and I've probably seen much more than that. So I've probably seen 50,000 plus projects or roofs. So from that experience is where we get this information, and based on warranty standards and speaking with engineers, I know a lot of the engineers in the industry, and I know a lot of the manufacturers reps in the industry. So these are the average roof lives of all types of roofs in South Florida specifically. It may be a little bit different in northern Florida where you don't have as hot of climate or where you don't have as high of winds. This is probably completely different in New York or in Texas or in California. So just keep these things in mind. This is roof life of Florida specifically, where we have very, very high winds. So that's why I call this Roofing 201 Florida Roof Maintenance, how to prolong your roof life in Florida. I already talked about why roof maintenance is critical. You can avoid expensive leak repairs. You can avoid premature failure of the roof. You can document the roof condition. So if you do have a windstorm claim, if a hurricane hits your house and you need insurance money, you can get it much faster if you've properly documented your roof throughout its life. And I already talked about the car. Biannual. The best way to maintenance your roof is before and after hurricane season. Most people don't do that. Most people who do maintenance will do one time a year, unless you have a flat roof. People with flat roofs will usually do 3 or 4 times a year, depending on how many trees and stuff are over their house, because tree stuff falls on a flat roof. And since it's flat and not sloped, the crap gets stuck up there and you have to clean it. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that stuff, the weight of that stuff is going to build up and it can make your roof collapse in and cause ponding water situations. Then water will get into the divot and it's going to cause a leak. Or what can happen is trees and stuff like that, little seedlings can get stuck in there and grow out of it. Or bugs will get in there. You'll get ants that fall on the roof and then they'll just start eating all your wood. So it's very important to clean that stuff off the roof if you have a flat roof. Parts of the roof. I do have a YouTube video on this. But your basic parts of the roof, it's very important to understand the parts of the roof if you're going to try to understand roofing terminology and what you need to take care of and what you don't need to take care of. Here is a hip where my cursor is. This is the ridge. Here's a chimney flashing. Any flashing is basically the borderline that seals something that pops out of the roof. So anything that pops out of the roof, we call a penetration or a structure. Like a chimney or a dormer or a structure, this roof vent is a penetration. All of these things have flashings. There are various types of flashings, from liquid flashings to metal flashings of all sorts. And they all have their own pros and cons. We can get into that in different levels depending on your roof type. It all kind of depends on your type of roof, on what is the best way to flash that roof. Skylights, same thing with skylights. Sometimes you want curb-mounted skylights. Sometimes you want self-flashing, which penetrate directly into the roof instead of sitting up on a curb of 2x4s. This is a gable. This is bad for wind. When wind hits that gable right here, this can cause the roof to pull up. So usually in roofing, you have zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. The edges of the roof are going to be zone 2. The tops of the roof are going to be zone 2. The gable here is actually going to be a zone 3. And then your field here, the The middle of the roof is zone 1, which is lower wind. That means you're less likely to get wind damage. So you have zone 1, 2, and 3 on a roof. Valleys right here. This is a valley where you have two roofs that collapse kind of into a V for valley. That valley is going to be one of your weakest spots on your roof. Your weakest spots on any roofing system are going to be your valleys, because you have two sheets of plywood that combine into each other, and water can get into that valley. It's a very high water area. If it's misnailed or the nails rise up or there's all kinds of stuff that can happen to the valley, then water can get in, and those are very prone to leaking, as is any penetration. Anything sticking out of the roof that's not improperly flashed, or the flashing will prematurely fail before the rest of the roof. Those are your most likely spots for roofs, are flashings or penetrations that pop up out of the roof, or structures that pop up out of the roof, or valleys. Chimneys leak all the time. Usually when chimneys leak, a lot of time it's because the chimney itself is leaking, not the roof flashing, because you're not painting up there. Maybe you painted the whole house and the painter forgot to go up there, or you have stones and you haven't waterproofed them, or you've got T111 that's rotting out. Like, chimneys are a major leak source. A lot of the time people just demo them at this point instead of keeping them, especially here in Florida, because nobody really needs a chimney here in Florida. I do have a YouTube video that I'll put on here for a second called Parts of a Roof, where I go through and label all these parts of a roof for your better understanding and talk about roofing terminology. Let's watch a couple minutes of this video here. You can find this video on YouTube, What Makes Up a Roof, or Parts of a Roof. Something to keep in mind. So this roof is a relatively easy slope. It's a 3-on-12. And when we say Perkins 3-on-12 slope, and if you're getting a new roof, over run. So that means that you have 3 inches up for every 12 inches across. Rise over run. So this is a 3-on-12, which 3-on-12, 4-on-12, 5-on-12 are the most standard that you'll see for a sloped residential. When doing roof measurements, roofers measure by the square. So a square is 100 square feet. The open area of the roof away from the perimeter is considered the roof. This is generally where you find most of your roof leaks, because the water is all going to come to here on this side and on this side and meet in the center. And you can see here we have 2 sheets of plywood that meet. Now we're building a cricket here, and we're going to have metal, so it should strengthen the valley. But these weak points, like the valley and the return over there, are where most of your roofing problems happen on a sloped roof. Like gooseneck vents, penetrations. But it looks like on this roof, we're pretty barren right now. They're going to install a gooseneck at some point, the plumber is. But I guess he hasn't showed up yet to put their new gooseneck vent in. See, here's another vent. This is a bigger one. This can be another lead stack vent right there. So that's just a small video if you want to see some of the parts of a roof in person on a literal work in progress roof. How to maintain your roof. I have videos on YouTube of all of these different roof maintenances as well. So YouTube is a very friendly source. I try to make things as easy to understand for the consumer as possible. Having been an educator in the past and a master's in journalism, my goal is to show you and teach you with the visuals, so you as the consumer can understand what the heck us contractors are talking about. So how to maintain your roof. For tile roofs, you want to replace broken or missing tiles. The reason you want to do that is that the paper under the tiles is the waterproofing, not the tiles. And the paper is not rated for UV or sun exposure. So if you have broken tiles and the paper is showing through the roof, the sun can cause that paper to crack out, because we have very, very hot sun here in Florida, and it is not UV stable. Like, for instance, TU Plus under the tiles is only rated for 180 days of sun exposure before it deteriorates and goes bad. So if you have a broken tile on your roof for 180 days, that paper under the tiles is going to go bad, and it's going to deteriorate, and you're going to get leaks, which cost way more to fix than just changing out a broken tile. The other thing, touch up hip and ridge mortar. The mortar on the tops, on the hips and ridges, if you remember, your hips and your ridges, you're going to have mortar on a tile roof. It's going to mortar those tiles in, unless you have a mitered. Well, if you have a mitered roof, you're still going to have a mortar. It's just going to be a joint instead of against the hip and ridge tiles. So that you need to touch up that mortar, because if that mortar cracks out, then what can happen is that you can get water intrusion under the tiles, and it can prematurely cause deterioration of the paper. So you don't want that to chip out. The other thing too is it's going to give your tiles less grab, and they can come off the roof a lot easier without the mortar. Next, clean algae. You don't want a bunch of algae on your roofs. Your HOAs probably aren't going to allow you to have a bunch of algae on your roof, and they're going to make you clean it. It is much better, and I have talked about this in many other videos, it is much better to spray the roof with an algae spray than it is to pressure clean the roof. High pressure is going to ruin the paint on the tiles if you have concrete tiles. If you have clay tiles, it won't, because they're not painted. They're just the color of clay. But it can blast out the color, the PSI, on the pressure cleaner. And the other thing is, if you have screwed-in tiles, which a lot of people do, not in HVAC, which is Miami-Dade and Broward, high-velocity hurricane zone code, requires you to use AH160 foam on the tiles. Actually, I think they allow tile bond now, which is dumb because tile bond sucks and is only a single component, and it's only 110 mile per hour rated. So I wouldn't use tile bond. I still highly, highly recommend AH160. And this is something that other roofers don't talk about because they're trying to cut a corner and be cheaper so that they can win jobs by using crappy foam instead of good foam. Foam that's only rated for 110 miles an hour winds, which is like less than a Cat 3, versus 160, which is basically bottom of Cat 5 for the AH160. Watch the wind tunnel videos of the AH160 versus the screws or versus the tile bond, and you will understand exactly why you want to use the AH160 instead of tile bond or screws or whatever. So anyway, the algae, the pressure cleaner can blast the tiles and cause movement. You don't want that. Better to use algae spray. The other thing you're going to do on a maintenance is check the valleys, penetrations, and wall transitions for issues. If you really want to see if you have a leak on a tile roof, you're not going to tell from the top most of the time, unless you have a keen eye like me. Most of the time, you're going to walk around the perimeter. If you have rotted fascia, most of the time, like 99% of the time, if you have rotted fascia, you have a roof leak. I know a lot of people that are like, I hired a handyman to fix my fascia. Okay, but what was the source of the rotted fascia? It didn't just rot on its own. It rotted because there's a roof leak above it. Okay? Most people don't understand that. It really, it's when you think about it, it's common sense, but most people don't think about their home. They're preoccupied with other stuff in their lives, so they're not thinking about it. So let's watch a little bit of this video. Hey, this is Tim with Perkins Roofing. You can watch it. Hey, this is Tim with Perkins Roofing. You can see behind me, we are on a tile roof, and today we're going to talk a little bit about tile roof maintenance. You can see these are white concrete roof tiles that have quite a bit of dirt on them, and so I'm going to walk you through this roof and what should be done to maintain the roof, which is not that old. You can see the dirt accumulating. We are on the ocean here. The closer you are to water, it's going to create more dirt, salt, silt. It's going to get on the tiles, which means that they should be sprayed. And the trick is, people think that they need to be pressure cleaned, but they don't, because when you pressure and to rust out. So a closed tile system, a closed valley system is what I recommend. It's the best. This is copper with metals. There's something called electrolysis. When certain metals touch other metals, the only type of metal that can touch copper and not corrode is stainless steel or copper. Example of closed valley, and then here you have a little tip, very important detail when it comes to roof maintenance. Also, replacing completely shattered tiles. That's how you prevent this kind of staining. I recommend watching some of these videos to help you. I've got a couple on tile roof maintenance, so I recommend watching some of these. Shingle roofs, you're going to replace missing shingles. You're going to clean algae, and same thing, check your penetrations. You don't want missing shingles because guess what? Your shingle is your primary water barrier on a shingle roof. Without the shingle, all you have is paper, and the paper is black, and it's going to crack from UV exposure. The black paper, like TU Plus is 180 day rated, but it's white. The black paper is only 90 day rated for sun exposure. How's it going? Tim with Perkins Roofing here. It is that time of the year. Your oil change on your car. You can't just drive it off the lot for 100,000 miles. Oh, I have a 100,000 mile warranty. Flat roof for you. That doesn't mean you can drive 100,000 miles and not do an oil change. You're not filling. All four need to be maintained, and they all have different needs. Some have more needs than others. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We'll start off talking about our shingle roof. and I'll jump up on my own for demonstration purposes. So my roof is a architectural shingle roof. You can tell the difference. These are also called dimensional shingles. These are layered. You don't have the open tabs. Now on an architectural shingle roof, what you want to look for maintenance is you want to see if there's any fibring and granules. You can see some of these granules are starting to remove on this roof. This roof, I bought this house with this roof, and this roof is approximately 4 years old right now. You already see some granules coming away. Obviously we have the sun beating down on it, hot South Florida sun beating down on it all the time. You can see some slight fibring on the shingles. So these are things you want to look for wear and tear purposes. Is you need to nail that back down. Get a hammer and boom, 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 hit that nail back down. Get a little roof cement and seal that right up. You can buy roof cement at Home Depot, or you can hire us to do it, whatever you want to do. Other things that you need to maintain on your roof are flashings. So this video here is called How to Maintain Your Roof in Florida. I actually talk about all roof types in that video, and it's only 12 minutes long. So you can learn a lot by watching that video. I highly recommend it. Other types of roofs, metal roofs. A lot of the time on metal roofs, you have to replace missing and rusting fasteners or clean algae again, depending on the color of the roof. Check valleys, blah, blah, penetrations, blah, blah, blah. Same thing everywhere. The other thing you have to do on a metal roof is if you have a coated roof, if you have Kynar or S&P paints on the roof that are peeling off, you want to recoat those roofs before the entire coating comes off, because once the coating comes off, it's going to eventually rust. I do not recommend mill finish roofs here in Florida. It's cheaper, yes. It's cheaper, yes. It's cheaper, yes. But if you're anywhere near the water, you will still get rust. I talk about it all the time. At my house, I live like 10 or 15 miles away from the ocean, but I still get sand in my pool every weekend because we are in Florida. It's windy, especially in rainy and stormy season, and that wind is going to blow salt into your roof no matter how far away you are from the salt water. It's just going to happen. But you can also recoat a metal roof. A lot of people don't know. So this video is called Oceanfront Metal Roof Restoration. And I think there's like a 3-part video I have. But you can see that when you have, look at that right there. When you have damages to these roofs,
pieces, so you can actually see cracking
material here. Here we are resealing the black. We had to fix some tiles.
We had
to change out the screws. Roof, make it last longer, and then repaint. Generally, these roofs should last 35 when the coating came off. Years or thereabouts, but